What is your favorite technique for chasing winter steelhead? I want you to list that right here in the comments below before we get started. And I want to tell you about my favorite. I did a poll on our YouTube channel and we got over 70% of the votes to specifically just float fishing steelhead. So that's what we're going to be talking. Basics of float fishing for steelhead and why I love this technique so much. So stay tuned with us. Float fishing for steelhead is my favorite technique because it has three things going for it: versatility, simplicity, and cost. Versatility wise, float fishing for steelhead, you can do so many different things, right? You could be fishing a jig under the float. You could be fishing beads under the float, worms, bait, spinners even. Float fishing for steelhead allows for you to use the conditions to pick what you want. And the float in itself helps with the versatility wise and simplicity, being that the float is the easiest thing to do. When that thing goes down, there's a bite and there's a fish. It's not super complicated, so you really don't have to go through and buy a ton of gear. In fact, I did a video last year of making a simple kit of $50 at the store. You don't need a ton of gear. Obviously you can buy a lot, but going through it, simple setup rigging. Bobber stop on the line, a bead, a corky for flotation, your brand of float that you like, an inline weight, then your leader to your jig. So that's the cost and simplicity. You don't lose a ton of gear when float fishing. That makes it so simple from the beginner level to the advanced, because you can go any step in between that and make it as super complex with the different varieties of versatility you're doing, to the fact that you can just have a simple float and jig and catch fish. So I wanted to run this because this video is something that I think a lot of people are asking questions on. How do I catch my first steelhead? How do I get started steelhead fishing? And to do that, you got to start with a simple setup. An 8'6" to a 10 foot is probably the norm that you're going to see for a steelhead rod. I would lean, if you're going to do float fishing only, to be more of that 9'6" to 10'6". It's a perfect length for picking line up off the water. But again, don't have to spend a ton of money. This is that $30 reel I showcased in another video from Walmart, and some 65-pound braid. It works great. I've caught already some salmon on it. I know it's going to work for steelhead. So the budget angler can really get into this sport and not have to go through a ton of hard knocks on how to learn. Now, they might be called the fish of 1,000 casts, but a steelhead does not have to be that intimidating. With the float fishing setup and the knowledge we can explore through our next series of videos, you can be successful as a float fishing angler. So I hope you get a little bit out of this one as a teaser into what's next. And if you like seeing some steelhead fishing action or some previous videos we've done, check it out right here. Fish on!
Good fish, my dog.